friends, I'm Katie from Lady Red Crafting. Fall colors are here, and today I'm here to share some fun autumn projects using decoupage, wood biscuits, a canvas bag, and even a solar light. So I'm so glad you stopped by. Let's jump right into the crafts. So grab some wood biscuits from the hardware store and let's get crafting. These little biscuits are so much fun to make fun, different crafts with. For this one here, I'm using the size 20 biscuit, and I'm going to go ahead and just tape them down to a paintable surface. And once we have 9 wood biscuits taped down, I'm going to grab my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. And we're just going to paint the tops and the sides of these biscuits. And having this on our cardboard here makes it really easy to get to those sides on the biscuits. You can just lift the cardboard up and get around the edges real easily. Now, once our paint has dried, I do grab my Mod Podge, and I'm going to do a nice coat of the Mod Podge on the tops of these biscuits. Now, while that is drying, I'm going to prep my napkin. And this napkin I've had in my stash since last year, and I absolutely love this napkin. So it has many uses. I love the Highland cow on here, but I also really like the sunflowers that are around the Highland cow. So to start, we're just removing the back 2 layers of this napkin. And you can see I struggled there for a minute, but we were able to salvage most of this napkin. Next, I'm going to grab a little dish and some water, and I'm going to be using what's called the water method here. And I'm taking my paintbrush, and I'm just going to paint around some of these sunflowers. Now, when I'm doing this, I am being mindful to make sure that the piece that I am painting around is big enough to cover one of those biscuits. So I'm going to be using most of this napkin so I can get large enough pieces for my biscuits. Now, while we have a moment, I want to tell you all about this fun playlist I'm a part of, Everything Fall. I host this every month with Lisa at Our Gray House, and our guest host this month is Donna at Shabby Meets Bling. These 2 ladies are so talented. I have them linked in my description box below. So if you haven't checked them out before, please make sure to check them out. I also have linked this amazing playlist, so if you are looking for some fall inspiration, you found the right place. Go ahead and click on that playlist link in the link below and check it out. Thank you for watching, and back to our video. So once we have all of our napkin pieces trimmed out, we're going to go ahead and just lay these on top of our wood biscuits. And I am just going to lay all of them down first. Then once we have all of these covered, I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper and we're going to lay that over the top. Next, grab your hot iron and just iron these napkins right on top of the biscuits. And what this iron is doing is just heating up that Mod Podge so that the napkin can stick very nicely on here. Now, this is perfect for keeping all the wrinkles away. I love this iron-on method, and you'll see me using it a lot in my crafts. Now, once all of that has happened, we're going to go ahead and just remove that piece of parchment paper. And then we're going to come back in with a little bit more Mod Podge to seal our pieces in. And once all of our pieces are sealed and everything has dried completely, I'm going to grab my zip sander and I'm going to go ahead and just sand in a downward motion around each one of these biscuits. Now, if you don't have a zip sander, that is just fine. This is just sanding paper on a block. It's just in a smaller block form. So you can use any piece of sanding paper, a block, an emery board, or even a razor blade. However you'd like to trim that napkin off of your piece. Now that all of these are sanded off, I'm going to set those aside and I'm going to prep my blank here. And this little piece of wood I did get at the Dollar Tree, but I've seen these types of things at Hobby Lobby and also on Amazon. I'm going to just take this little piece and I end up taping it down to a paintable surface here. And I'm using my Waverly Antique Wax to go ahead and stain both sides of this piece. And once our piece is dry, I go ahead and I take one of these adhesive stencils. And I did get this one on Amazon last season. And I'm just using the welcome to the patch portion of this. I'm not going to use those pumpkins at the top there. So we're just going to push that up to the top. Now I grab my Redesign chalk paste in the color Vintage Lace. And this is what we're going to use to squeegee over the top of our stencil. And if you haven't used this before, it's really easy to use. You just use these little rubber squeegees and you just spread the paint over the top of the stencil. And once you are done putting this on to your piece, you remove the stencil and you can take that stencil and wash that in some warm water and soap. And then put that back on the backing that you got with the stencil and reuse it again. Now here's the fun part, removing that stencil to see our beautiful design. Now I realized I needed to make a few little stems for my pumpkins here. So I took a popsicle stick and I'm just using some scissors and I'm cutting out some stems, nothing too perfect or anything like that, which is fine because, you know, they're stems and they're all going to be just a little bit different. Once I have a few of these little pieces cut out, I'm just going to tape this down to a paintable surface and paint it with my burnt umber paint. And now that all of our pieces are dry, I'm going to put all of this together, starting out by adding a small piece of tape to the twine that was my hanger previously. And by adding this tape at the end, it's going to make it easier for me to thread that back through my piece. And then I'm also going to use that as a way to thread these wood beads on there as well. And I'm able to use that piece of tape that's on the end there to string this back throughout the other side of this hanger. And then I'll tie a knot and cut off any excess twine. Now for the fun part, let's go ahead and add our little pumpkins. I'm going to start out by using 3 biscuits per pumpkin. And I just kind of space out the bottom 2 biscuits, and there's about 1/4 inch between the 2 biscuits. And then I lay the other biscuit on top. And then once I've positioned these where I want them, I'm also going to just add my little stems so I know which ones are going to go where. Now to attach these, I'm using my Type Bond Quick and Thick glue, and I'm just going to start out by removing the top biscuits first, and then I'm just going to slowly attach the bottom 2 biscuits first in the stem, and then I let that dry for a few minutes, and then I'm going to add that 3rd biscuit on top of each one of our pumpkins. And now that we have our final biscuit added to these pumpkins, we'll let this dry for about 30 minutes. And then our beautiful piece, Welcome to the Patch, is ready to hang. I just love how this turns out. The pumpkins are adorable, but the sunflowers just make it so bright and cheery. And if you enjoyed this craft, drop a sunflower down in the comments below. Thank you! For this craft, you're going to need your favorite fall napkin. I got this napkin from my good friend Lisa at Our Gray House, and I'll link her in the description box below. But thank you, Lisa, for sending me this gorgeous scarecrow napkin. And I'm starting out by prepping my napkin, and I'm taking a piece of painter's tape, and I'm just going to remove the back 2 layers of this piece. Now for this piece, I don't mind having some sharper edges for this, so I am going to actually cut out the square that has one of these scarecrows in it. And then we'll go ahead and set that napkin aside for a moment. And I have these adorable window clings in my stash, and I'm going to use the one that says Autumn Vibes. Next, I'm going to collect everything that I'm starting out with, the Autumn Vibe window cling, my little napkin piece, and a canvas bag. This canvas bag I did get on Amazon, and I'll put a link for that in my description box below. And you can see that I'm adding a piece of cardboard inside that canvas bag. And this will protect the other side of the bag when we start using our Mod Podge. Next, I'm just going to position my 2 pieces here and decide where I want to place them on the bag. Now let's grab our fabric Mod Podge. I'm going to be taking this Mod Podge and painting it over the area that I would like on the canvas bag to place my napkin. So I'm just going to be eyeballing this, and I'm just going to paint that Mod Podge straight onto the canvas. And then once I'm satisfied with the area that I've painted, we're going to go ahead and just layer that napkin right on top. Now let's go ahead and grab some cling wrap, and I'm going to take a piece of that cling wrap and layer it right over the top of my napkin. And I'm going to grab my little roller here. I got this from Mod Podge, and I'm just going to go ahead and just roll this over the top of my napkin. And this will allow all of the wrinkles to go away, and that piece of cling wrap just kind of keeps the napkin from tearing because it gives it a little bit of a protective layer. And then once you're satisfied with where your napkin is placed, we'll go ahead and remove that cling wrap and then allow this to dry. Now let's go ahead and grab our window cling, the Autumn Vibes, and we're going to take that, and I'm going to just make sure I know where I want that on my piece. And I'm going to lay that down over onto the tile here. And using my fabric Mod Podge, I'm actually going to be taking the Mod Podge and adding it to the back of the window cling. And this works okay with the window cling because it is a lot stronger than a napkin, but with a napkin, it would tear if I did this. So once we are done adding this Mod Podge to the back of the window cling, we'll be able to go ahead and just layer this right onto our canvas. And then I'm going to grab the cling wrap again and do the same steps where we go ahead and roll this into place to make sure we get any air bubbles out. So this is nice and smooth on our canvas. Now we just remove the cling wrap and we go ahead and let this dry. Now once everything has dried, I'm going back with my fabric Mod Podge and I'm going to use that to seal the napkin portion of this piece in. And to seal the window cling in, I'm going to be using my super matte Mod Podge. And I do this on purpose because that super matte finish over the top really takes away that gloss from the window cling and gives it a very muted look, which blends in really nicely into this canvas bag. And now once everything has dried, we're going to open up that canvas bag and remove that piece of cardboard. Now we have a beautiful reusable fall bag to use for this season. I just love how this turns out. I could see doing this for Christmas, birthday gifts, or just changing out different bags over the season. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this content, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps my channel grow. Thank you. So grab yourself one of these solar lights from the Dollar Tree, this cute little pumpkin glass from the Dollar Tree, and let's put these two items together to make a quick and easy, adorable fall solar light. To start out, I am taking the solar light and I'm using my wire cutters and I'm going to remove the lid from this solar light. And we are going to take those wire cutters and just cut that little butterfly out of the solar light. Next, I'll remove the tag, and then I'm going to verify that everything works before we start gluing anything. Now that we know that our little light works, I'm going to take that piece with my little glass jar here. And using some hot glue, I'm going to add the hot glue to the rim of the solar light, and then we're going to place that right on top of our little pumpkin. And the nice nice thing about using hot glue is that if you did need to change the battery out on this, it is really easy to pop that lid right off of the pumpkin, and then you can change out your battery and put everything back together. Now this light will look perfect on a little table outside, out on your porch, or what I decided to do, since it has a nice little hook on here, is I used one of those garden hooks from the Dollar Tree and I just placed it outside in my garden. Now this is what it looks like at night, and I just love how this turns out. This is such a fun and cute piece for the fall season. Get crafty with Lady Red's monthly newsletter. Tips behind the scenes and exclusive giveaways. Subscribe now in the description box below. It's free, so what do you have to lose? Thanks! For this craft, we're starting out with a solar light stake, a small piece of scrap wood, and a water bottle cap. Next, we're going to take this little piece of scrap wood. I'm just putting it down onto a paintable surface, and I'm going to give it a quick coat of Waverly chalk paint in the color white. Now I'm going to grab my Martha Stewart stencil and some different paints here. And we're going to take this stencil, and it is a self-adhesive stencil. It is not a silk screen. And we're going to place that on our piece of wood. And using a stenciling brush, we're going to go ahead and paint our little sunflower. And for the paint colors, I'm using Moon Yellow from Folk Art. I'm using Real Brown and Green Thicket. And we're going to continue using those stenciling brushes. I did start out by doing the center of the flower first. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the yellow on the flower petals and the green stems last. And I kind of work from the center out, and I feel like this is a good way to keep your stencils from bleeding together. And now we just remove our stencil, and as soon as that has dried, I'm going to grab another silk screen. I did also get this one on Amazon, and we are going to apply this to our piece. Once that is there, we're going to grab our chalk paste again, and this is from Redesign in the color Iron Gate, and I'll put links for these all in my description box below if you're interested. And we'll use our squeegee, and we'll go ahead and squeegee that chalk paste right over the top of our silk screen, and then we'll pull the silk screen off and we'll see our beautiful design. And now once everything has dried, here is what our sign looks like. Now you could stop here and use this for a tiered tray, but I am going to be using this outside. So I grabbed one of my solar stakes that I had left over in my crafting stash, and I like to try to use anything I've been using for crafting, and I didn't use the stake. So to attach this to the solar stake, since this is a little bit heavier of a piece, I did do a little pilot hole that I drilled into the piece of wood. And you could, if you don't want to use a power tool, you could just take a nail and a hammer and just kind of hammer a little hole in there just to get something started. Then I'm going to drill a hole into my water bottle cap. This will make it so much easier for me to attach with a screw to the piece. Next, I just take a screw and I'm going to go ahead and screw that little water bottle cap into my piece of wood. Next, we're going to be taking this plastic bonder. I tried 3 other glues before I ended up settling on this. And part of my problem with the other glues that I tried E6000, Fix All, and Super Glue. And while they worked, because of the weight of this piece of the wood on the top, I really needed something with a stronger bond. So we're going to use this plastic bonder here, and if you've never used one before, it has 2 tubes on it, and you just kind of press it down onto a disposable surface of any sort. So I'm using a paper plate for this, and then I'm just going to cap that off right away. And I'm taking a popsicle stick here, and I'm just going to mix those 2 items together. And you have a few minutes to be able to apply this, so you want to apply this fairly quickly. So I'm going to take this plastic bonder here and I'm going to add it to my bottle cap. It does harden within 6 minutes and it's completely cured within 30. So it's a very quick glue to use, but it works amazing for the plastic. And once that is completely coated on the inside of that bottle cap, I'm going to add my little stake to the top. And then I'm going to hold it there for a minute and just let it sit till it hardens. And I just love how this little stake turns out. This is such a great way to upcycle your solar stake, a little bottle cap, and a piece of scrap wood for some beautiful decor. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had so much fun sharing these fall projects with you, and I hope you're feeling inspired to create something beautiful too. Don't forget to subscribe and sign up for my newsletter so you never miss an update. And until next time, please remember, craft more, stress less.